Have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest? They don't rush to speak. They don't fight for attention. They simply observe and let others reveal themselves. But when they do speak, every word hits like thunder. Why is that? Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that real power isn't about dominance, it's about self-mastery. He argued that most people are unconsciously driven, constantly reacting, constantly spilling their emotions, constantly speaking just to be heard. But those who understand themselves, those who confront their inner shadows, they know the power of silence. Because silence is not merely the absence of words, it is a psychological weapon. Most people think power comes from being loud, from being seen and heard. But the truth is, real power comes from knowing when to stay silent. Silence is control. Silence is strategy. Silence makes others uncomfortable, exposes their intentions, and gives you the upper hand. Yet, most can't resist the urge to speak. They overshare their plans, making it easy to be undermined. They react emotionally, revealing their weaknesses. They speak to fill the void and give away far more than they realize. Here's the truth. Silence is a superpower that very few understand. Jung believed the human psyche is a battlefield, a constant war between the conscious self and the emotional impulses that lie beneath. The more self-aware you are, the less you feel the need to prove anything. But those without self-control, they talk too much, reveal their entire hand before the game even begins. So, here's the real question. Are you the one controlling silence? Or is silence controlling you? Because if you don't master silence, it will expose you before you even know it. In this video, we'll dive deep into the psychology of silence, emotional control, and the nature of power. You'll learn how silence can manipulate the minds of others to use silence as a tool of influence, and why emotional control is the secret to true dominance. This isn't just about speaking less, it's about thinking deeper, controlling more, and winning more. Let's begin. Remember, silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. And once you stop talking so much, something shifts. People start to wonder what you're thinking. They begin to second-guess themselves, and they end up revealing more than they ever intended. As Napoleon Bonaparte once said, never interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. As we explored earlier, silence isn't weakness, it's power in its purest form. Once you control silence, you also control emotion, pace, and even the psychology of the people around you. So what happens when you speak too much? You unknowingly give away your thoughts, emotions, and plans. But when you choose to stay silent, you force others to fill the gaps, and in doing so, they expose themselves. Most people don't realize it, but how you use silence shapes how others see you. It determines how much respect you earn. It decides who holds power in a conversation. It reveals who's truly in control, you or your emotions. Yet, many fear silence. They rush to fill every pause as if a moment of quiet is threatening. But the truth, silence is not weakness, silence is strength. Carl Jung believed that true self-mastery begins when we face the unconscious, the hidden forces within that shape our behavior. He once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you speak impulsively, just to avoid discomfort, you're not in charge, your emotions are. But when you embrace silence with intention, you stop reacting and start controlling the room. Here are 3 powerful ways silence gives you an advantage. 1. Silence exposes the truth. Most people can't stand silence. It makes them nervous, so they rush to fill it with words. This is where your advantage lies. If someone is lying, let them speak. They'll trip over their own contradictions. If someone is insecure, they'll ramble, exposing their soft spots. If someone is faking confidence, silence will shake them. Jung believed that our unconscious fears rule us until we confront and control them. By staying silent under pressure, you expose the hidden fears of others. He once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. 2. Silence forces people to show their real intentions. Imagine you're in a negotiation. The other person is applying pressure, expecting you to cave quickly. But instead of reacting, you pause. You say nothing. Instantly, the energy shifts. They begin to question themselves. They soften their demands. They try to break the silence. Why? Because silence makes people uncomfortable, and in that discomfort, their true intentions surface. A manipulator will fill the silence with lies. A weak person will over-justify. A strong person will respect your control. Jung knew people project what they hide. And silence, it reveals it all. As we saw earlier, silence doesn't just expose others, it transforms you into a person who commands presence, authority, and deep respect. When used strategically, silence forces people to confront their inner chaos. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." 3. Silence commands respect and authority. Think about the most powerful individuals you've ever encountered. Leaders, strategists, warriors. Do they ramble endlessly, justifying themselves? No. They speak sparingly, but every word lands. They don't beg for attention, they command it. They don't seek approval, they own the room. They don't react, they observe, calculate, and act only when it counts. Jung believed that true power isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. Those who speak impulsively are not in control, their emotions are. But the one who uses silence, they control the moment. He once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." If you want to be respected, if you want to hold power in any interaction, you must learn to control your words, speak only when necessary. Let others talk first. Use silence to shift the balance of power. The person who speaks less almost always holds the strongest position. Why do most people lose their power? Because they let their emotions take the lead. Someone insults them, they react. Someone challenges them, they get defensive. Someone disrespects them, they explode. And just like that, they lose control. Sun Tzu said it best, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. People who control their emotions are intimidating. They're hard to manipulate. They're unfazed by insults. They remain steady under pressure. When you control your emotions, you control the outcome. So, how do you develop this emotional mastery? Pause before reacting. Don't respond instantly. Let your emotions cool first. Observe others before you speak. Watch and learn before revealing yourself. Detach from your ego. Don't let pride pull you into unnecessary conflict. Once you've mastered this, you become unreadable, unpredictable, and unshakable. Here's a hard truth. The loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. They try too hard to prove themselves. They crave validation. They can't stand not being the center of attention. But powerful people, they let others speak. They listen more than they talk. They gather information and strike when necessary. Plato once said, "A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool because he has to say something." In any group setting, the person who talks the least commands the most respect. So, next time you're in a room full of people, resist the urge to speak. Just observe. You'll notice something strange. The room starts to revolve around you. We saw how the one who speaks the least often commands the most respect. Now, it's time to explore how silence becomes your greatest weapon in conflict. Most people can't stand silence. They feel the need to fill it with words. But if you simply stay quiet and observe, you'll notice something fascinating. People begin to look at you more often. They wait for your opinion. And they value your words more. Why? Because when you rarely speak, people naturally assume that what you do say matters. Now let's dive into conflict and how to win without fighting. People expect arguments to be back and forth battles. They expect you to react, get emotional, and lose composure. They want you to fight. So what happens when you don't? They get confused. They lose control. If someone insults you, just stay silent and look them in the eye. If someone tries to provoke you, don't react. Watch them squirm. If someone expects you to argue, let them keep talking and watch their insecurities come out. Ali ibn Abi Talib once said, "Silence is the best reply to a fool." The quieter you are, the more others overextend themselves. They try harder to get a reaction. They reveal raw emotion. And eventually, They realize they have no power over you. And at that moment, you've already won. Now that you understand the why, let's talk about how to use silence strategically in relationships, business, and personal growth. Because if you master this, you'll gain an edge in every situation. In relationships, most people ruin things simply by talking too much. They over-explain feelings, killing the mystery. They argue endlessly instead of letting silence do the work. They react instantly instead of letting tension create impact. But here's the truth: the less you explain, the more value your words hold. The less you argue, the more people respect your presence. The less you react, the more control you gain. As Proverbs 10:19 says, "Where words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise." If your partner, friend, or family member is acting distant, don't chase. Let silence do the work. The moment you stop seeking validation, you become more attractive, because mystery creates desire, and silence forces them to reflect on their own actions. Don't argue. Don't plead. Step back. Let them sit with their choices. People respect what they can't control. If they care, they'll notice your silence and course correct. If they don't, you'll see their true colors. Without wasting your energy, remember this: when someone tries to provoke you, pause. Let them ramble. When someone disrespects you, don't explain. Withdraw your energy. When someone expects a reaction, give them nothing. Watch them squirm. That's when the power shifts into your hands. We explored how silence can reshape personal relationships. Now let's take that deeper, because in the world of business, silence isn't just power, it's your biggest advantage. Ask yourself, who dominates a high-stakes business negotiation? The answer: the one who speaks the least. Why? Because in any high-pressure conversation, the person who talks more is usually the one losing ground. They reveal too much. They get anxious and start over-explaining. They give away control of the conversation. Strategic silence is a power move in business. After stating your terms, say nothing. Let the silence push them to respond. When someone tries to pressure you, don't react. Watch how their real intentions come to the surface. In meetings, speak only when necessary. And when you do, people will listen more attentively. Michel de Montaigne once said, "He who establishes his argument by noise and command shows that his reason is weak." Here's an example. Imagine you're negotiating a deal. Instead of explaining endlessly, state your price, then go silent. Most people can't handle that silence. They feel the need to fill the void, often by making concessions. If you master this, you'll always stay in control. But here's a harsh truth: most people are emotional slaves. They react instantly to everything. They can't sit with discomfort, so they speak without thinking. They crave validation instead of reflection. But if you truly want power, you must master the silence within. Buddha once said, "A man who conquers himself is greater than one who conquers 1,000 men in battle." So, how do you do that? Practice stillness. Spend time in silence every day. No phone, no noise, just you and your emotions. When something triggers you, don't react. Sit with it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what is this emotion teaching me? Why? Do I feel the need to respond? Is their opinion even worth my energy? The moment you detach from the need to react, you become untouchable. People respect you more. Your presence grows stronger. You are no longer controlled by the external world. That's where true power begins. By now, you understand. Silence commands respect. It reveals the truth. It puts you in control. But there's one fatal mistake most people make when using silence. And if you fall into it, your power will collapse. We explored how silence becomes powerful only when used with intention. Now let's look deeper, because if you use silence the wrong way, it can completely destroy your influence. First, tell me in the comments, have you ever used silence to gain the upper hand? What happened? Let's talk. I'd love to hear your story. Because here's the truth, silence is only powerful when used correctly. Many people hear that silence is power and make one critical mistake. They believe silence means doing nothing. They completely withdraw, refusing to communicate, and expect that silence alone will give them strength. They use silence as a passive-aggressive weapon, and it backfires. True silence isn't about avoiding, it's about control. Confucius once said, "Silence is a true friend who never betrays." Powerful silence must be intentional, not accidental. If your silence is driven by fear, insecurity, or avoidance, you've already lost. So, how can you tell the difference between weak silence and strategic silence? 1. Signs of weak silence. You stay silent because you don't know what to say. You use silence to avoid confrontation. Instead of facing issues head-on, you withdraw completely, expecting others to chase you. This isn't power, it's passivity. And over time, people lose respect for you. 2. Signs of strategic silence. You stay silent to let others reveal themselves. You speak only when it matters, making your words powerful. You control your emotions and reactions, keeping others off balance. Example: if someone disrespects you, weak silence will be sulking, hoping they notice and apologize. But strategic silence means pausing, holding eye contact, and letting them feel the weight of their words. No emotional outburst, no unnecessary argument, just calm, controlled presence. That's how you make silence work for you. Silence is only powerful when paired with emotional mastery. So how do you develop ironclad emotional control? 1. Master the pause. Someone insults you. Pause. Someone pressures you. Pause. Someone tries to manipulate you. Pause. That pause creates psychological distance. It gives you control. And most importantly, it forces them to wait. And in that waiting, they reveal everything. As the old saying goes, a moment of patience and a moment of anger saves 1,000 moments of regret. 2. Observe instead of react. Most people listen to respond. Powerful people listen to understand. Watch their body language. Notice their tone. See what they're really saying beneath the surface. Silence makes people uncomfortable. And in that discomfort, they show you who they really are. We learned how emotional control and intentional silence can shift every interaction. Now it's time to level up by letting go of your need for external validation. 3. Detach from external validation. One of the main reasons people talk too much is because they crave approval. They want reassurance. They want to be liked. They fear being ignored. But the moment you stop needing external validation, you become powerful. You no longer feel the urge to prove yourself. You don't explain everything. You don't seek attention. You simply exist in your strength, and people feel it. Now comes the final test. Can you handle silence? Most people can't. They feel uneasy when there's no sound. They get anxious when there's no reply. They seek comfort in words, even when words aren't needed. But if you truly want to win, you must learn to sit in the discomfort of silence. Lao Tzu once said, "Silence is a source of great strength." Here's your 24-hour challenge. Speak 50% less than usual. Don't over-explain yourself. Don't respond immediately. Pause before speaking. Don't overshare. Let others do the talking. Watch what happens. You'll notice people begin to notice you more. They feel drawn to your presence. They wonder, what is this person thinking? That's when you know you've won. Now you understand the secret. Silence isn't emptiness, it's control. It forces others to reveal themselves. It gives you leverage in every situation. It makes you unreadable, unpredictable, and unshakable. But there's still one final piece of the puzzle. When is the right time to break the silence and speak with power? Because silence alone isn't enough. You must know when to strike. Silence is a weapon, but like all weapons, you must know when to wield it. If you stay silent forever, people will assume you're weak, insecure, or have nothing to say. The key is balance. You must know when to use your voice and make it count. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Speak only if it improves upon the silence." So, when is the right time to speak? Let's break down 3 powerful rules of impactful communication. Rule number 1. Speak when your words create impact. not just to fill space. Most people talk just to avoid silence. Powerful people speak to shift the energy. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this necessary? Will it add value? Will people listen? If the answer is no, stay silent. Don't react emotionally. Pause, think, respond with precision. Don't over-explain. Be direct. Say more with fewer words. Don't argue. Ask a sharp question that makes others rethink everything. Power isn't in how much you say. It's in how well you say it. We explored the power of speaking only when it adds value. Now it's time to learn the next skill, knowing when to break the silence to shift the entire dynamic. In every conversation, from negotiations to debates, the person who talks less holds more power. The listener controls the flow. The one who waits forces the other person to reveal themselves. The one who breaks the silence first is usually the weaker side. But here's the trick. Once they've talked too much and exposed their position, that's when you strike. Imagine this: you're in a negotiation. The other person talks endlessly, trying to pressure you into agreement. You stay quiet. Eventually, they feel uneasy, and they lower their demands. That's when you speak. When you do, you hold all the leverage. If you remain silent when they expect a reaction, you win. If you speak when they least expect it, you control the room. Marcus Tullius Cicero once said, "Silence is one of the great arts of conversation." Rule number 3, speak when it shocks and demands respect. If you're always silent, people stop paying attention. But when you speak only when necessary, your words carry enormous weight. The less you speak, the stronger your voice becomes. The more unexpected your words, the more people listen. The longer you wait, the more impact your words have. Picture this: you're in a heated debate. The other person keeps talking, trying to dominate the room. You don't interrupt. You let them wear themselves out. And then, in the stillness, you say one short, powerful sentence. The energy in the room shifts. Everyone turns. The momentum is yours. You take back control. Mark Twain once said, "The right word may be effective, but no word was ever as effective as a rightly timed pause." Now you understand when to use silence and when to break it. But how do you train yourself to master this in real life? Here's how to build total communication control. 1. Practice the 3-second rule before speaking. Pause. The 3 seconds before responding to anything. It gives you time to think. It makes you appear composed. It forces the other person to wonder what you're thinking. Most people react instantly. That's weak. But when you pause, you build tension. You speak with purpose. You earn respect. Francis Bacon said, "Silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom." 2. Master the power of the stereo. Don't always need words to dominate a room. Your eyes can say everything. Someone challenges you, don't react, just stare. Someone disrespects you, don't argue, just stare. Someone expects an answer, stay quiet, let them feel the weight of silence. A well-timed stare can shake even the most confident opponent. You learned how a single stare, calm and unreadable, can be more powerful than 1,000 words. Now, let's go deeper. Because silence isn't just a tactic, it's the gateway to self-mastery. Remember, sometimes a common steady stare says more than words ever could. If someone tries to provoke you, don't react. Just look at them. Calm, neutral, unreadable. Watch how they get uncomfortable. Watch how they start explaining themselves. You've already won. Never respond to rudeness with emotion. Because when someone is rude, they're revealing who they are, not who you are. Train yourself to speak less and observe more. The more you observe, the more you understand. The less you speak, the more respect your words will carry. Try this challenge. For the next 24 hours, speak only when absolutely necessary. When tempted to respond, count to 5 in your head, then observe. What happens? People will grow uneasy. They'll try to fill the silence. Some will even reveal their weaknesses. That's your power. Elbert Hubbard said it best. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words. At the end of the day, silence isn't just about winning arguments or appearing powerful. It's about mastering yourself. Carl Jung dedicated his life to understanding the hidden forces behind human behavior. He understood the greatest battles aren't out there in the world. They're inside ourselves. Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung's world will always try to drag you into endless noise, pointless debates, emotional traps. But when you learn to control your voice, your emotions and your reactions, you become untouchable. You stop wasting energy on the meaningless. You earn respect without having to demand it. Because real strength is quiet, real wisdom is reserved, and the loudest person in the room is usually the weakest. So, here's the final question. Will you let the world control you, or will you master yourself? The choice is yours. Starting today, speak less. Observe more. Watch how silence shifts the power in any room. Now it's your turn. Have you ever used silence to your advantage? Share your story in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, like, share and subscribe for more content that challenges the way you think. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment.